Welcome to the Rock the Stage Show. Each week, international media expert Rich Bontrager has in-depth and personal conversations with celebrities, top leaders, authors, speakers, and media professionals. Now, from the Rock the Stage studios, here's your host, The Trigger, Rich Bontrager.
Welcome back to the Rock the Stage Show. It's The Trigger, Rich Bontrager. Sunday night, yes, once again, Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, bringing another great international guest today. We're going back across the pond. One of my places I actually love to be now, more and more, Ireland. We're going to drop into beautiful Ireland with another great guest tonight. But we do want to remind you, Rock the Stage is expanding and growing. We are now streaming on Roku, Amazon Fire, Bravehearts TV, and the IPTV network beyond our regular YouTube family as well. So catch us, subscribe us. If you have the Roku, the Amazon, make sure you save us as one of your favorites, add us to your playlist, and watch as we add more and more shows from yesterday and from today onto those channels. You know, the one thing I most often get asked about is how do you start shooting, producing a TV show? Obviously, I do multiple different shows, been doing it for a long time, but people always ask, where do you start? How much it start to cost to produce a show? What equipment do you need to produce a show? Well, tonight, my guest started off with his mobile phone talking about cooking. Sometimes it's as easy as that. Sometimes it's just simply starting. But what happens after that is sometimes luck, sometimes it's strategy, sometimes it's the personality that comes alive, sometimes it's the topics you talk about on your shows, and it's the right time, the right place, and it hits like lightning. My guest tonight is a compelling restaurant owner, multi-award winning Treyvaud restaurant in Ireland. He has quickly built a reputation of Ireland's most unconventional chef and TV presenter. He has his own TV shows, Cooking with Treyvaud, Treyvaud's Kitchen, and Treytvaud Travels, and we're going to talk about each of those a little bit tonight. He has a massive online presence, reaching over 4 million people each month on his social channels, and is building a considerable audience throughout the globe. Welcome, once again, Paul Treyvaud. Good to see you, Paul.
Well, I tell you what, my mother couldn't do a better introduction than that, Rich. Oh, I actually feel good and important now after that. Thank you very much, sir. Greetings from Ireland.
Oh, wonderful to hear that accent and have you back again. By the way, I do have to tell our audience, Paul was a guest on another show that I co-host with Sandra D. Robinson. Many of you know Sandra. We were doing the All In magazine show together, and Paul was a guest there. And immediately when I had Paul on camera, we were talking to him, I said, I got to have you on Rock the Stage. So thank you for being here, man.
Well, thank you very much for the invite. Really looking forward to this.
So you have a family-run restaurant. It's located in Ireland, international cuisine. And you got into this whole business because your father was an international chef too, right?
That's right, yeah. So our restaurant, Treyvaud's restaurant, myself and my brother have it, opened up in 2003 down in Killarney, County Kerry. Probably the most beautiful place on earth. And we were always involved in food and hospitality because Dad was the original master chef in Ireland. And nowadays you get that title with winning a 2-week TV show. However, Dad did it the hard slog, and he was working 7 days a week with some of the most incredible hotels in Switzerland. Dad is Swiss. I cooked for some incredible people: Muhammad Ali, Elvis, Princess Grace, Frank Sinatra. And when you've got a family like that and you've got a background like that, well, it's very hard to do something else.
Well, you did successfully, obviously, because, and you know, the last time we spoke, you talked about Ali, you talked about some of those names that your father got to work with. Was that really part of the inspiration for you to jump on this and really get involved? You thought Dad was pretty cool?
Yeah, I mean, so this is going back when Dad was starting off his kind of career. So back in the late 60s, 70s. And it was a total different ball game. So you worked. I mean, I never saw Dad. I was actually very lucky. 4 kids, and I'm the youngest. So Dad was beginning to slow down as I was hitting maybe my early teens, and he was huge into football. So I got to spend a lot of time. He started coaching my football team, and it's amazing how history repeats itself. I coached my 2 sons in soccer as well. So, but when I was very, very young, 2, 3, 4, 5, I remember sitting on the stool in the kitchen, watching Dad. This is how you make a mushroom sauce. This is how you. And I was just going, oh my God, how can you just get a couple of little ingredients, put them together, and create amazing?
Now, so were you naturally drawn, or was it watching Dad? Since Dad made it look so cool and magical, was it your mother got you into that? What one really pulled you into it?
Well, in order to get into our game, you have to be a little bit nuts. That's a big
Okay.
bonus. Yeah, that's a big bonus. So I have that in abundance. Mom actually told me not to do it. She goes, under no circumstances are you to go into hospitality. And moms, if you're watching, trust me, if you don't want your kid to do something, do not tell them not to do it. That's only going to push them further into it. So I just had the buzz for Dad's family, had a big hotel, campsite, restaurant over in Switzerland. And I worked there for 3 or 4 summers, worked in a couple of other different hotels and restaurants. And that's what really gave me the buzz for it.
Now, did your dad ever step into the TV side like you did? We're gonna get to that in a moment, but did your dad ever hit the line where there was a camera in front of him?
Dad was very old fashioned in his way of thinking that if I'm on TV, I'm not in the restaurant cooking, I'm not in the hotel. And Dad worked in the biggest and greatest hotel here in Ireland at the time. So he was going, but if I'm out, and they asked him to do, obviously, TV chef, that whole kind of personality stuff wasn't as big as it is now. But when they asked him to do it, he'd say no. And in fact, even in the big competitions here in Ireland, Dad said, I'm not going to be judged by people who know less than me. But he said to the hotel, I'll do it once. So he entered in the big competition here in Ireland about, the top chefs, won everything and went, that's it, I'm out.
One and done.
One and done. Said, I'll go down in history, 100% success rate.
Now, when you did do it, I gotta tease it out. You did grab your phone and you did do a cooking show, but correct me if I'm wrong, you climbed a tree to make your first cooking video?
Well, the tree video is actually my second. The
You're
first
saying-
was, the first was, so we've the restaurant in Killarney here since 2003. And we went through the big bang pretty much globally in 2008. In 2010, things started looking a little bit better. And in Ireland, you don't know what weather you're going to get. You could have 4 seasons literally in one day. And we started getting bad snow around Christmas 2010, and we started getting cancellations. Now, your viewers need to know that Irish people, if they see the snow today, that means I got to cancel in 2 weeks' time, because they're going, oh my God, it's snowing today. It could be terrible in 2 weeks' time. So we were getting cancellation after cancellation. And I went, I went up the top of the Kerry Mountains as high as I could go. I was in a pair of shorts, t-shirt, no socks. It was -10, that's Celsius, -10 on the top of the mountains. And I had a couple of local scallops, a little bit of local black pudding, and I cooked this dish, literally freezing my scallops off, and that's what I called it. So I uploaded that to Facebook, and the following morning, and I uploaded from my phone straight on. I'm going back now 10, 15 years at this stage. And all of a sudden, the following day, I have 500,000 views. And this is when 500,000 views were 500,000 views. So I was going, geez, people like this kind of stuff. So I said, I can't be a one-hit wonder. Got to come out with another one. So I turned around, and that's when I climbed the tree to cook quail. And, well, that's a whole other story.
No. You've got your camera. So did you film this way? Did you film that way? How did you film yourself for scallops?
It was all portrait style. I had one of these flicky open phones. That's how old these phones were. So you kind of had to flick it open. And it was so cold on the first one. I mean, the phone was barely open. It was really frozen over. So I had my restaurant manager, and he was doing all my filming. And the rule I had was, look, when I start, just follow me. No matter what happens, just follow me. And I said, and that's when I learned at a very, very early stage, content is king. Everybody's so worried about, is the lighting right? Is the sound right? Have I done this? Have I done that right? But content is king. And I learned that from Keith Floyd. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He was probably one of the most famous TV chefs actually in the UK, but he spent an awful lot of time in Ireland. One cameraman, one director. That was it. And you'd see the cameraman had his boom, and the odd time you'd see the boom coming down in front of the camera, and you'd see the director's hand, no, over here. But it was brilliant. And that's where I learned content is king.
But now, beyond the content, as people are watching right now, your personality is fun, gregarious. You are on. Did that come naturally for you, or did you grow that through this evolution of TV and media?
I think it might have started when I was so cold. I was probably shivering. I was trying to get out of there as quick as I can. And it just kind of, people love the energy. And people kind of go, just we haven't seen anything like this before. Yeah. The biggest compliment I always get is my honesty and how natural it is on the screen. There's nothing fake. I watch so many of these cooking shows now at the moment. It doesn't matter if it's cooking or any other kind of show. And I'm going, come on, man. We know, we can see that's not done right. Stop pretending. And I just think that the viewer, they actually crave it because we've been fed nonsense for so long. To see somebody who's honest, natural, nothing scripted. I never scripted a single thing in my show and in any of my shows. And even actually when I'd go meet people, I didn't want to meet them before, didn't want to talk to them before. I just show up because if I go, oh my God, really? I wanted that to be natural. And that's what we got from it.
So there's no pre-call, there's no pre-prep. You literally, we're rolling, we're going for it. Boom.
Absolutely. There's actually in one of my shows, I meet a 100-year-old lady. And we went up and they said, come on, we go up and talk. I said, I'm not talking to her. I said, because, it has to be absolutely natural. So we arrived up and we get the scene of when, she's opening the door and a big surprise. And I turn around and say, can I give you a hug? And she goes, oh my God, I'd love a hug. And then she turns around, can I sing you a song? And I was going, oh, wow, that'd be amazing. Now, you could have practiced that 1,000 times. You never would have got it when you film live. So
that's part of the secret that I coach people on is back in the green room, like when we're backstage a little while ago. I make sure we don't talk about anything that we're going to talk about on camera. I don't want it to have a rehearsal. I don't want the energy to flow out. I want it to be, I asked you the question, I got you in the moment. Some shows, pre-script, pre-practice, you can feel the energy is not real anymore.
100%. So much so, in my second show when I was doing the Treyvaud's Kitchen, we had a full-on production crew and everything. And one of the cameramen turns around about 15 minutes into it. And when we took a small break and we were doing one of the cuts, and he turns around and he goes, can I take my camera off the tripod? And the director's looking at him, and I didn't really care. I was going, yeah, I don't mind. And he said, I just want to follow you. I'll get more just literally following you. Yes. As opposed to this wide screen. Now we had the wide screen covered, all right. But this guy wanted to come in, get the close-ups. He said, I want to follow your energy on the shows. And because of that, you can actually see halfway on from the first episode to the last episode, you can see the change in style of the camera work.
And that's part of what people are trying to figure out when they ask me these questions. Like I said in the opening, how do I start? You already have it. The iPhone is your new studio. You can do it right. Like Paul did it. Paul exploded with it. But then you morphed and you grew. Did you grow intentionally, or do you grow out of necessity? What made you grow into bigger camera, bigger lights, and all this stuff?
Well, it was funny because I started getting so much on my social media channels. All of a sudden, probably the biggest network here in Ireland contacted me. And we sat down, and it was going to be a 30-minute by 13 episodes. And that's unheard of. That's the magic number. If anyone's asking, that's the magic number of episodes. And so I was getting, we'd gone through our interviews, we'd gone through the whole stuff, and then all of a sudden, nothing. And I was going, what the hell? Nothing, no answer. And anybody, I notice a lot of people watch the show kind of, wanting to get advice. That's a very common thing in the world of media. Everyone will tell you you're brilliant. Until you sign the contract, until they pay you the big bucks, don't believe a damn word they tell you. You're as brilliant as long as they need you. So all of a sudden, nothing. About 6 months later, I'm watching the TV screen and I see this cooking show. And I'm going, hang on a second. That's actually my pitch. That was my pitch. He even said the same goddamn thing that I said in my pitch. And I rang up to the director and I went, what the hell? And he goes, well, actually, we got a big sponsor on board because this guy's more, I was new. This guy's more known than you. You wouldn't have got the sponsorship behind it. And I went, and he gets the gig, and he goes, well, that's showbiz, baby. I won't say what I called him.
Wow. Right.
I don't know if it's a family show or not, but I tell you one thing, I called him quite a few things. Anyway, I'm thinking it now, but I won't say it out loud. So then there was a new TV station that opened up, Irish TV, that was actually going to all the diaspora all around the world, and a lot of it went into the States. And they went, hey, what happened to that other channel? I told you you're getting a gig there. Can we talk? And that's when we started talking.
So was the personality, the organic nature of your show, was the topic of cooking part of the secret too? Or do you think you could have talked about tattoos and exploded the way you exploded?
It's funny. I was stopped by the cops one day here in Ireland, right? And I saw him and I said, geez, I'm looking at my speedometer. Was I driving too fast? Did I have a pint? I was going oh, what the hell? So next minute he comes out and he goes, oh my God, Paul, I'm delighted it's you. And I went, okay. And he goes, I can't cook. He says, but I've never cooked so much fish since I've started watching you. Wow. And I went, what? And he goes, you're talking about the sun, the moon, and the stars whilst cooking, but every 30 seconds you tell me exactly what I need to do. So I say to people, don't text me, email me, ask me for my recipes. Just listen. I'm telling you everything. There is 300 grams of mushrooms in that. There is a 10-ounce steak. So listen, I tell you everything and watch. And if you do both of those together, you can cook anything that I'm cooking. So that was a huge part of it. I just made it I hope I made it really natural.
Well, and again, I grill. okay, I can do burgers. I can put nachos in the ovens. I can do peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I'm a king at that. But I cannot cook. I don't have the confidence. So part of what you're exuding is the confidence of cooking while teaching it.
Yeah.
Once
So
once you understood that, did you like lean into that extra strong, knowing I've got something special here?
I think it was just a connection that we just got with the viewer, and I didn't realize it until down the line when the
Oh,
likes of this cop told me that. He said the best advice you ever gave me. I was always afraid to cook fish because I'd overcook it, and I say in one of the shows, this goes into the oven for 10 minutes. Now, if you take it out after 10 minutes and it's still not cooked, then your piece of fish was slightly different to my piece of fish. Put it in for another two. If you take it out after 10 minutes and it's overcooked, next time put it in for 8. You have a better oven than I have. So I said, like, just use your brain. We all have them. Thanks for the cat. That's one thing they can't take off us. Use your brain and you will get more and more confidence. But a lot of the reason why people can't cook is they're watching the wrong damn people. So I'm watching one guy do a lobster and he's making this lobster sauce.
right.
And all of a sudden, he takes the intestinal sac out, and I'm going, he has no idea what this is. Now, if I say the intestinal sac, you don't need to know how to cook to know what's in that. Not a pretty thing, trust me.
No.
And all of a sudden, it's going into the sauce. And next minute, he blitzes it all, and the sauce is black. And I'm going, did the cameraman not turn around and go, are you
Right.
sure that's supposed to go in there? So a lot of these guys don't, and it's not just cooking, it's the same with so many reality shows. These guys don't know what they're on about.
So you also caught lightning because Simon Cowell, everyone knows Simon Cowell, very famous, but you also got involved with an international YouTube search for TV cooking, right?
Correct. Yeah. So it was pretty much like America's Got Talent online. It was pretty much like a YouTube, and it was all different categories. And I see this one for cooking, so I go, okay. And the criteria was go out and make a video of of the ingredients, and the criteria was it has to be yellow and green, which was perfect for Kerry. It's the color of our Kerry flag. So I said I'll go outdoors and do it. So I filmed this beautiful smoked salmon dish in the lakes of Killarney. As I said, the reason why we have a day of rest on Sunday is because on Saturday God created Kerry. You're not that he created Kerry. And I actually say this in one of my episodes of Treyvaud Travels, and he looked over his shoulder. He said, I can't do any better than this. I'm taking tomorrow off. So that's why we all have a day of rest on Sunday. Anyway, I'm cooking the dish, upload it up to the channel, and 2 days later I find out who's judging it? Jamie Oliver. I went, oh my God, Jamie Oliver. I get into the top 3, and Jamie turns around and he goes, I can't pronounce this guy's name right, but this is definitely one to watch. And I went, I don't need anything else. I do not need anything else. If I win, lose, or draw, getting an endorsement like that, and we're good mates now, and we're always on contact with each other on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. And to get his endorsement, literally the following day, Irish media, nuts. Who is this guy? That's when it really kicked off.
And that's part of the evolution. Start with your iPhone, start with what you got. Don't worry about all the other stuff and slowly get the reputation. And again, Paul Treyvaud, you can't forget the name now. But the other part of this is the brand of you, as I coach people, the brand of you, your personality, your spin, your outspokenness, which we're going to get more into. But you are the brand. You cannot change Paul Treyvaud and get the accolades that you've gotten, correct?
Yeah, 100%. And that was one of the things when I said to the director, look, he got the gig because he was more well known than I was at the time. And I was going, yeah, but he's not me. So I mean, we can all cook a steak, we can all cook a risotto, but I'm the personality behind it. And I know sometimes we've probably changed things now where we've superseded popularity with ability. So we're looking at people who's got this kind of, likable factor, or even like if I put, say, the main network here in Ireland, if I put 2 monkeys eating peanuts on at 8 or half 8, 500,000 people are going to watch that anyway because it's on the main network. So I don't care if you're good, bad, or anywhere in between. So if you get lucky enough to get on that stage, you better make sure you milk the hell out of it because you're given that opportunity. So whilst the opportunity I got wasn't as big as the main network, I made damn sure I milked it for everything that I possibly could.
Well, and you've done multiple shows, including travel. So we went from cooking to traveling. Tell us about that experience because that's like the expansion of the brand now.
Yeah, so it was something I always wanted to do. I love soccer, but my knees, I can't play for Ireland anymore, so I can't put on the green jersey. So the next best thing is to promote your country on a global audience, and particularly into America, because Ireland Americans, got this great affiliation. We've got a great, great relationship with each other. I mean, you guys.
I'm in love with you guys now. I really am.
Like, you come over here and you'd be saying like, "Oh my God, I'm Irish," and I go, "Why am my great granddad? Do you know Tim O'Sullivan? There's like 1,000 Tim O'Sullivans here." Well, that's why we love the Americans, because so many Irish went over there. But so when I was starting off, and I just wanted to show Ireland to the globe, and it was unbelievable. So when you get something bad, and again, this is a great tip for anyone who's trying to make it in the world of media. And my bad thing was there was zero research, nothing. I was told, here you are, we're sending down a film crew, go film. And I was going, and do what? And I go, well, we've seen enough of your stuff to know you'll come up with something. Like, think about how amateurish that is. Go make a TV show, right, and you just decide, you, the presenter, decide what happens. So I went, okay, well, we can look at that as a bad thing, or I've got an open book to do whatever the hell I want. Right. And that's what I did. So I called up a good few friends who are involved in big sporting clubs and big rugby teams and football teams and all that kind of stuff. Went to the most iconic locations, but here's what was different. I did this scene. You'll see it. My shows, by the way, they're also on Amazon Prime. They're also on Hungary, and they're also on, is it Roku? Is that what it is?
Yeah, Roku, yeah.
Yeah, they're all there. Treyvaud Travels, as you mentioned, Treyvaud's Kitchen. Anyway, there's a place in Killarney called Cardiac Hill, and it's about a 1 kilometer, literally straight up the side of a mountain. And they put down these stones, and I stop about 6 or 7 times. It's so hard. I go, Jesus, I'm out of breath. Anyway, I bring the film crew up me, and they go, what the hell are we doing? I said, because nobody else would do this. All these promoters, all these kind of fancy dancy stuff, they do it down by the lake where there's no work involved. We're doing it the hard way. We're going to get that scene and that shot from up the top of it. And that's what I did throughout the whole show.
See, and so now you're host, content creator, you are producing. Which one do you really like doing more? As you've gotten into this, which one is really Paul at his core?
Well, it was funny because the kind of cooking became secondary, because I was doing all the planning of it. I just happened to be cooking along the way. And do you know what? I never, it's funny you said, I never looked at it like that. I just turned around and just went, isn't this what you do? And I didn't realize, actually, no, this isn't what's done. Normally there's 3 guys who take care of this. Normally I'm carrying the backpack. I made pancakes up the top of the freaking mountains. And I'm going, like, I'm carrying up the backpack. Normally, in a proper show, I'd have 2 guys do, like the Sherpas.
Right. Yeah, you're the celebrity guy. Yeah. You don't carry stuff.
I can't be coming up sweating, but I wanted to, because when you climb up that part of the mountain, you'll be sweating too. So there was no airs and graces. We went over a cable car from mainland. There's only one cable car in Ireland to an island. Yeah. And I said, can I cook anything on that? And they went, no, you can't do it. And I said, oh, okay. And so as soon as we got in, we're about 50 yards away from the mainland. And I went, right, lads, whip out the cameras. We're cooking. And they're going, but he said, I don't care what he said. He said, nobody's ever cooked in this cable car before. And we'll have the show done before they know anything about it. And that was the amazing opportunity I had, because there was no researcher. There was no director telling me what to do. The camera crew just went, okay. And that's why you have the most original guerrilla-style travel show you'll ever see anywhere.
And everyone take note of that. Please take note of that, because that's the change right now as we're experiencing the collapse of Hollywood, filming industry. They are not looking for producers and writers and directors. They are looking for content creators like Paul that have the whole concept here. And if they don't have the concept, they'll make it up on the fly, and we'll eat it because it's real. It's organic. We're hungry for that, right, Paul? People are really hungry for pull off the mask and just show us the stuff.
I think it took longer than we expected, but it's taken about 20 years for people to realize the majority of reality TV is absolutely fake and nonsense. Right. And I think people are craving just natural, honest to God, genuine people on their screens say, I can relate to that guy. I'm fat, I'm bald, I'm half Irish. I can relate to this guy. He cooks the way I want to cook. He goes to the places where I want to go. And I mean, I always say I get 4 million, views per month on my socials, and Kim Kardashian's flicking her hair or tapping her. My ass is real. There's nothing fake about what you got here. It's the $1 million package of just me. And I think people really crave that.
Well, and that's part of the unscripted nature of Rock the Stage Show. And people have said, I know when you're real. I know when you're on script, Rich, and I can tell when you're real. There's something about being unscripted and letting people see it. Good, bad, or ugly, they're going to see it.
Yeah, I think I live my life with every conversation you have with somebody should be like you're down the pub having a pint. And if you live your life like that, yeah, there you go. If you live your life like that, you're having a genuine conversation. My father taught me the greatest lesson I ever learned in my life. The great thing about telling the truth is you never need to remember what you said. And I will take that to the grave with me. And that's my shows. That's in essence, they're my TV shows.
Now, your shows grew and grew. Your platform, your audience grew and grew. With that comes the ability to, again, lend your voice, speak the truth. And you grabbed that opportunity during COVID, and they tried to censor you and shut you down.
Yeah, in a nutshell. I certainly grabbed it. I didn't realize. It's funny. I hate the word influencer because they don't really influence anything. If you zoom out the camera, you'll see the real nonsense going on behind them. But
Right.
when you come out with an honest, frame of mind and an honest show and an honest way of talking, you'd be amazed the amount of people that actually listen to you. And during COVID, and I know it was similar in a lot of countries, but similar in the States, hospitality, tourism, the restaurant industry, pub industry, decimated, absolutely decimated. It's as if they needed a scapegoat. They had to pick, and I don't want to belittle anybody. I know a lot of people, lost their lives throughout COVID, and I don't mean it flippantly, but they picked on one industry to really say it's all your fault. So we can't have 60 people in a restaurant eating together, but we can have 500 in a supermarket. That's fine, and and when you think back of the restrictions, stand up, put your mask on, sit down, take it off, because COVID knows how high you are. If you're staying in a hotel, you're fine. If you're not, you can't eat. All these crazy things. Over here, we had a €9 meal. COVID knew if you were eating, and they wouldn't. No, leave him alone. He's eating. Get this guy. He's not eating. This was the nonsense we were coming out with. And all I did was, and this is what really hated them. I hated it. They couldn't argue with me because I was just asking questions. I was going, "Are you sure that's right?" So we had at the time our chief medical officer. You guys had Fauci, I think, at the time, and we had this other guy who was equally, if not more qualified than our CMO, saying what this guy is saying is wrong. And I was going on saying, "Well, can we not at least talk to the other guy? He's qualified." Because all I was getting, "Shut up, you're not a doctor. Shut up, you're not an expert. You're not a scientist. What the hell do you know?" And I was going, "Well, I know enough to know that this guy is. So can we hear what he has to say?" And they hated it because all of a sudden the agenda, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole or any of that kind of stuff.
Right.
But they hated what I was saying because I couldn't be argued with.
So as a host, as a celebrity too, in the truest sense, as a media entity, do you think it's your right, your responsibility, what do you call it, to leverage the mic and speak into these uncertain times? Is it something that we should do, or should we just go back to cooking and keep our head down?
There's two ways of looking at it. I think we were getting pushed all this nonsense about mass immigration coming into Ireland by our government, saying that we have a legal and moral obligation to help these people. And I was going, well, we also have a legal and moral obligation to protect the people of Ireland. And most of what's coming into the country are illegals that shouldn't be allowed in the first place. And I'm kind of going, I think you have a God-given right to, it's not easy to stand up, and you do get shot. If you're the only guy who stood up in the trench, you're the first guy getting shot. And I was the first idiot to stand up. And then I realized, people are really, really enjoying what I'm saying. And for obvious reasons, if some guy, if he works in a bank, I 100% agree with you, but I can't say it because I'll be fired. I'm lucky. Nobody can fire me. So the worst that happens is nobody comes into the restaurant. But all of a sudden, I'm seeing more and more people come into the restaurant saying, I don't want to say it online publicly, but we 100% agree and support you. And that's why we're in your restaurant now.
So sometimes the risk is worth it. Did you ever question yourself, or did you have family, friends, mother say, "Stop it, sit down, quit talking, Paul"?
Yeah, there's no doubt. Would I change it? No. Did I lose probably a huge amount of my TV career? 100%. So the advice I would give to people is, you got to weigh it up. I sleep very well actually I don't sleep because I'm a complete insomniac, but the hour I do sleep, it's absolute bliss, because I would do it all again tomorrow. For the reason being, I've 2 kids, and I don't want to be there looking at their kids in 20, 30 years time and turning around saying to my grandkids, I should have said something, but I didn't. So my short-term loss is probably my TV career here in Ireland. And, if that's what it took to say what I had to say, I'd do it again in a heartbeat tomorrow.
So TV, travel shows, cooking shows, but you've also got into being an author. And I love the name of your book. I absolutely love the name. But we got to talk about A Hooker in the Lobby.
The Hooker in the Lobby.
That is going to be, what a phrase. Tell us about the hooker in the lobby.
Yeah. So it's basically it's how I started writing my book is we're in the restaurant one night in the winter, and Killarney is a seasonal area, so it's a lot quieter in the winter. And anyway, this one turns around to me, she goes, "Is there chicken in your chicken bruschetta?" And excuse the expression, but I pissed myself laughing, thinking that she was joking. And I went, "Oh, you're serious?" I said, "Well, yeah, yes, there is chicken in the bruschetta, but I can do it without chicken if you want." She goes, "Yes, please." And I went, "All right, no problem." So I went upstairs to my office and I went, "You know what I'm going to do? I should have done this a long time. I'm going to write down stupid questions I get asked in hospitality." And about an hour later, I had a chapter written. I went, "All right, well, let's just keep doing that." So I wrote it over the winter. So it's basically watching Dad, as a kid, my memories of Dad, and I do a lot of quotes in it, that as if I'm talking away to him, and it's all pretty much from memory. Going through school, going through college, working in different hotels, restaurants around the world, and then setting up my own business, dealing with the banks and opening up my own restaurant and all that kind of stuff. And I said, "Look, well, it's done." Brought it to 3 publishers and they all went, "Not a chance. Every second word is a curse word," because I wrote it in the style that people speak behind the scenes in restaurants and hotels.
It was Paul speak. It was 100% authentic Paul.
100%. I mean, I'm doing very well to keep to be on good behavior here today. But you should hear me down in the pub. Trust me, we have a different conversation. But so I got it self-published, and I turned around to him and I said, I have a bookshop as well. And they went, "Really?" And I went, "No, it's the restaurant, but I'll only be selling 1 book." And I've sold so many copies of that book. It's insane. And the greatest compliment I get is when people say, "I read it in 2 days." Because it's such a simple style of language that people can just, like I said, it's me and you having a pint.
I've got to ask you, from your restaurant, and I've looked at your menu, you have an amazing menu. All sorts of cool stuff. What's your favorite dish and why is it your favorite?
Oh, I tell you, so we've changed the menu kind of just coming into the spring season there. And we have this beautiful fresh prawn dish. And the reason why I love it is because it's one of the first sauces I saw Dad making. So it's a real classic old dish that we used to see on menus all over the place with a lobster bisque sauce. So I make these beautiful pan-fried fresh Atlantic prawns, and then we finish it off in a lovely lobster bisque sauce that we make out of lobster shells, prawn shells, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh.
And it is so rich. It's gone back to the days, never mind you health freaks. Look, just walk home. You'll be fine. You'll burn off the calories. Just enjoy your I can't understand these people going, "I'll have no dressing on my salad. Hold the blue cheese. I'm minding my... What you come out for dinner for? Just come out for dinner, walk home, or go home with your wife and spend a passionate 30 minutes with her. You'll work off the calories. You'll be fine." So that's one of our greatest dishes now is the prawns. But we did the rack of lamb as well, which is beautiful. And we used to do this amazing dish that Dad cooked for Elvis, was a beautiful guinea fowl with a wild mushroom sauce. And we can't get the guinea fowl. Nobody in Ireland is supplying the guinea fowl anymore. It's a real pain, but that was a classic.
What does guinea fowl taste like? And don't say chicken.
No, everyone says, it tastes like chicken or pork. What the hell does chicken taste like? Chicken cat. But I'll tell you what it actually tastes like. It tastes like chicken used to taste. Before they started putting all this muck into it and force feeding it with all kinds of crap, it tastes like a really, really genuinely good organic proper chicken that you used to get 20, 30. You remember where your granny used to feed you? If she only knew, all she had to do was put the word organic on it, she'd have made millions years ago. It was always organic. Somebody just labeled it. It's like Route 66. It was always there until somebody put a name on it. Now we all get to travel it.
Paul, I'm going to bring up your Instagram account because you drive social so well. This is one of your most active accounts. What are you doing with Instagram? Why is it working for you?
Yeah, so a lot of what I do is actually just cooking at home. I put the pictures up at home. I actually really enjoy. Like if you come into the restaurant, you'll probably see me out the front of the house. It's my brother who's doing all the cooking inside in the kitchen because so many people were coming in to say, "Oh, can we speak to Paul? Can we speak to Paul?" And I said, "Geez, if I go out, well then like my dad, who's in the kitchen cooking?" So I only jump into the kitchen when the guys need me now. So I'm out in the front all the time. But I love doing dinner parties. So I do a lot of entertaining at home. And on my Instagram page, I'll put a lot of the dishes up that I have at the entertainment or, from my home where you can see the sun setting here in the Kenmare Bay. It's absolutely stunning.
During all your organic surprise videoing, were you ever shut down? Did someone come up and say, no? How do you handle that?
So I was filming a breakfast show. And I had this Shannon, so I took a boat down the Shannon, biggest river here in Ireland. It was just this absolutely stunning. Unbelievably, nobody had ever made a TV show about it before. And so I'm coming down and I said, "Lads, we're ahead of schedule. Let's film the breakfast show, the breakfast scene now." So film it, all done. This is fantastic. Last bit of light. I said, "Let's go for a pint." So then we go for a pint, and 2 people, can you believe this? 2 people that we were supposed to meet for that episode rang to cancel.
No.
I went, and this was the guerrilla style cooking, or filming that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
So the director's going, oh my God, what the hell are we going to do? The camera crew, oh my God, what are we going to do? And I said, lads, let's get a pint. I said, we'll figure it out over a beer. So I go up to the bar to order 3 or 4 pints. And there's 3 Germans at the bar counter. And I go, hey, what are you guys doing here? We come fishing every time. And they weren't Russian. That was a bad German accent. Anyway, you get the point. And that's why I'm not an actor, see? So I turned around and I said, I come because he's come for the last 10 years. I said, you're exactly what I'm looking for. You're exactly what I'm looking to promote. I'll do breakfast in your boat tomorrow. So they went, really? I said, I'll cook breakfast again for your boat. So I went back to the director, sorted. And he goes, what do you mean? And I said, we're doing breakfast. He said, we've already done the breakfast. And I went, I know, don't worry, I have a plan. Sleeping on it, I have a plan. So film the second breakfast show, go back to the boat, and I said, I want to film a dialogue of me telling people what happened. And they went, what are you on about? I said, because this could happen on your holiday. You could get to a place, and you could see online it's open, and you get there, it's closed. What am I going to do? Just go do something else. Don't go like sit and cry for half an hour. So I want to tell people what happened. So I say, listen, when you watch the first breakfast scene, if you really notice, the sun is setting. It's not rising. So this is TV. Just because I tell you something, don't believe it. But people are sitting there going, oh, okay. So I wanted to explain it to them that it wasn't happening. I said, that's why we had to film a second breakfast scene. So in my head, I had about 20 minutes of the show. I needed to get it to 26. So what the hell am I going to do? This little village we were in was tiny. I said, up to the bars and the restaurants, and we'll promote them and pour us a pint. Oh, this is a great place to come for a pint. You know, give us a bowl of stew. Oh, this is a great place to come for Irish stew. I said, we've got about 22 minutes. I said, I'm still short of 4. So we found this is a crazy story. We found this museum, a kind of train museum. And we went up, and it's locked and it's closed. And I see this owl lad fast asleep in his car. Like this, I'm locking the door. I said, come here. I said, I need to get a scene inside. Oh, jump over the wall, you're grand. I said, but what happens if, the guy comes back? He's driving the school bus. He won't be back for another hour. You're grand. So I said, lads, come on, jump the wall. So we jumped the wall, and totally illegal. We jumped the wall, and all of a sudden we start filming. I'm going, okay, it's not great, but look, we got the episode done. The director runs down the train track, comes around a corner, and I'm screaming, come on, get the hell out of here. We know we've overstayed our time. Next to me, he goes, oh my God, come down here. So I come running down, and it was like the elephant graveyard of any locomotive you could possibly imagine, from the original ambulance, the oldest train, some planes, warfighter planes, and I was going, how do people not know about this?
Right.
So here we go. So we filmed the show. The guy rings me afterwards. Geez, I always wanted somebody to come down and film. And he said, but I didn't know who to ask. So the point is, now look, you could probably get your ass sued if you do it wrong, obviously. But if you do it with a smile and a bit of bigara, and a little bit of Irish, you might just pull it off. And that's what I did in the whole show.
Love it, Paul. Absolutely, Paul. Paul Treyvaud. Go find him on social media. Again, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. He's everywhere. The YouTube channel is still up there as well. Check out his website. Paul, thank you very much for taking the time to be on Rock the Stage today.
Rich, an absolute pleasure. And do you know what was the great thing about being on the show? You let me talk. If I was in Ireland, I'd have been shut up halfway through it.
Highly unscripted, always on target. Thank you very much, Paul.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Rich.
Paul Treyvaud. Again, you want to remember the name, go find him on social media. Check out all of the material. And I believe, because we're coming back out, COVID's done, some of this nonsense is over with. But for what he's doing and the authentic and the teaching, blending real life with cooking, come on. Who doesn't want to know more about that? I believe he's going to be back bigger, stronger. The media will re-embrace him. So, Paul Treyvaud. Come on back next week. Don't forget, we're now on Roku, Amazon Fire, we're on IPTV, and we're on the Brave Arts TV network. Plus, of course, every Sunday night, 7 p.m., we premiere a new episode on YouTube. Join us for Rock the Stage every Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Until next week, I'm the Trigger, Rich Bontrager. Have a great week, and keep on rocking.